anime addicts. This week on Sci-Fi Buzz, we buzz on over to Anime Expo 96.
What, are you trying to kill me?
You'll meet one of the trailblazers of anime, from Astro Boy to Yamato. Plus the wild, imaginative mind of fantasy artist Wayne Barlowe. Cruising the wacky and cynical world of British sci-fi TV. And for the first time on U.S. television, the amazing fantasy series, The Odyssey.
For this next checkpoint, you've got to go to a place called Nowhere. It's a test to see how bad you want to go to the tower.
How do I get to Nowhere?
Prepare. Stand by. The Buzz.
Movies. Personalities.
Sci-Fi. FX.
Behind the scenes.
Cutting edge. Get ready.
Is this the biggest anime and manga-based convention in the United States? It's gotta be, folks. Hi, everybody. Mike Jarek here with a special edition of Sci-Fi Buzz. This time from Anime Expo 96. This is the 5th anniversary of this massive comic and anime exposition, this time being held in Anaheim, California. As you can see from the action here in the dealer's room at Anime Expo, Japanese animation, or anime, and Japanese comics called manga have burst into the U.S. entertainment mainstream. Not only is there fast and furious buying and selling of anime videos and manga, but businesses smoking for animation cells and a dazzling array of anime-inspired toys, model figure kits, and T-shirts. "3,000 fans from Europe, Asia, and the Americas have converged here to buy as much anime and manga as they can get their hands on, and to marvel at Japanese animation on the big screen in multiple theaters. But for diehard enthusiasts, perhaps the biggest thrill of the expo is getting to see some of the superstars of anime in person. And without a doubt, we got our biggest buzz from meeting anime pioneer Noboru Ishiguro.
There you go, Astro Boy, on your flight into space.
In 1963, Tetsuwan Atom, or Astro Boy as it's known here in the States, became Japan's first animated TV series. The show helped launch the career of many young artists. One of them was Noboru Ishiguro. But who knew back then that the neophyte animator would later emerge as one of the great innovators of adult-themed sci-fi anime? Certainly not his parents.
My father was very strict, and when he often caught me drawing comics, he would come over and rip my comics apart. As for my mother, she was very understanding, but had doubts about me being able to make a living writing comics.
Fortunately for anime fans, Ishiguro continued his art. Following college, he won the job as key animator on Astro Boy. But that was hardly enough for this ambitious young man.
Mr. Tezuka's production company was too large for me. I didn't think I'd have a chance to become famous there, so I chose to go to a smaller company.
In 1974, Ishiguro began work as animation director on the series that was to change the face of anime and science fiction forever. The series was Uchu Senkan Yamato. The futuristic soap opera was set in a retrofitted World War II battleship on a quest to a distant world to find a cure for the radiation sickness killing mankind. Despite its striking animation and innovative effects, the series fell victim to low ratings and was canceled after the first season. In an attempt to recoup their losses, the producers recut the series into a 2-hour movie. But at first, theater owners refused to show it.
Back then, any animation other than Disney never became popular, so all these theater people were not friendly with us and would not offer their time. In fact, science fiction as a whole was not very popular back then.
Eventually, the producers were able to convince 4 theaters to screen the film. But no one was prepared for the response. More than 100,000 advance tickets were sold in the first 3 days.
Before the release date, people were sleeping in front of the theaters, trying to get the best seats they could. This was when the word science fiction and the whole genre of animation was rethought.
Yamato Mania swept Japan, and the TV series became a hit in the U.S. under the name Star Blazers. The success of the show made millionaires out of the film's producers and turned Ishiguro into a highly sought-after director. But perhaps more importantly, Yamato had single-handedly ignited the boom in Japanese animation that continues to this day.
Now where am I? What's happening?
Ishiguro went on to direct many of the genre's most popular shows, including Macross, Orgus, and Megazone 2-3. He's currently working on Legends of the Galactic Heroes. And what does this living legend of anime see as the future of this rapidly evolving art form?
The use of the computer is dramatically increasing, and in the future, a form that is not exactly animation, but not quite a game, will be combined to create a new form. Unfortunately, I do not understand computers very well since I am from an older generation. I finally got my email hooked up, but for some reason, my messages all get bounced back.
Though he hasn't yet joined the cyber age, Ishiguro still remains very much on the cutting edge of anime. Next, the playful and peculiar British twist on Sci-Fi TV. And fantasy artist Wayne Barlowe. Wait one. Back at the Anime Expo 96 here in Anaheim, California, talking with Hero A. I tell you, you have one of the best looking exhibits at this thing.
Thank you.
What are we looking at right here?
This is a series called El Hazard. It's one of our original video animation series.
It is really nice.
Oh, thanks.
Now, how would we get a hold of this? I mean, is it hard to get a hold of in the United States or not?
Oh, yes, we are already distributing through by Laserdisc, VHS, English subtitles, and English dubbed version.
English subtitles, very important for our next story here. We're going over to England, as a matter of fact, to look at some British science fiction. Have you ever seen any of that?
No, I don't think so.
You know all about Japanese science fiction. Wait till you get a hold of this, okay?
Okay.
Check it out.
I think you ought to know I'm feeling very depressed.
While American sci-fi TV series tend to take themselves quite seriously, their British counterparts have frequently reflected a different attitude. There's rarely any idealism or sense of mission like you find on celebrated U.S. shows such as Star Trek. Instead, the classic Brit programs ooze campiness, sarcasm, and cynicism.
Oh, what happened to the Earth? It's been disintegrated. Has it? Yes. It just boiled away into space. Listen, I'm a bit upset about that.
The granddaddy of English sci-fi series is Doctor Who, which debuted in 1963 and ran a phenomenal 26 years. They went through 7 actors in the role of Doctor Who, an eccentric Time Lord who journeyed across time and space in a police telephone box.
You mean you can't control this machine?
Well, of course I can control it. 9 times out of 10? Well, 7 times out of 10.
Quite unlike, say, a Captain Kirk or Picard, the Doctor was usually at odds with any current establishment. From the very beginning, he was a dissident, out of favor with the other Time Lords, and on the run. Perhaps that explains why this children's show attracted an adult following.
I'm not exactly breaking the laws of time, but I am bending them a little.
You never did bother much about rules, as I remember.
In the late 70s, Douglas Adams, a script editor on Doctor Who, created a radio serial called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Adams then turned the scripts into a couple of best-selling novels and this TV miniseries. The premise is that aliens are destroying Earth to make way for a new express route. Moments before the planet is vaporized, Earth resident Arthur Dent is whisked away on an amusing journey through time and space.
Good grief. Is this really the interior of a flying saucer? Yes. What do you think? Well, it's a bit squalid, isn't it?
The show's humor belongs to the Monty Python school, which is rooted in the premise that the universe is absurd and unkind, especially to the English. The program hilariously and cruelly lampooned all government, authority, and idealistic visions of the future.
On arrival, we will stay in dock for 72 hours, and all planet leave is cancelled. I've just had an unhappy love affair, so I don't see why anybody else should have a good time.
Perhaps the best blend of sci-fi and humor since Hitchhiker's Guide is Red Dwarf. The BBC series debuted in 1988. It features 3 losers navigating the far reaches of the universe in a rundown spaceship.
We're a bit short on a few supplies.
Like what?
Cow's milk. Ran out of that yonks ago. Fresh and dehydrated.
What kind of milk are we using now?
Emergency backup supply. We're on the dog's milk.
The show's humor is in the same absurdist vein as Hitchhiker's Guide, but raunchier. The jokes focus on vulgarity, hopelessness, stupidity, and bad hygiene.
Just because they're aliens doesn't mean to say they don't have to visit the little boy's room. They probably do something weird and alien-esque, like it comes out of the top of their heads or something.
With the dominance of American science fiction TV, it's often been hard to notice what the English have contributed to the genre. But now with the availability of these series on home video, you can easily enjoy the uniquely skewed British take on sci-fi.
This is Craig Miller, programming chief for the 1996 World Science Fiction Convention. For the first time in 12 years, the convention will be in Southern California. Over 6,000 people will be coming to the Anaheim Convention Center over Labor Day weekend to see 300 dealers, an art show, 24-hour films and video, programs with writers from Arthur C. Clarke and Ray Bradbury to David Brin and Harlan Ellison, and much, much more. For more information,
part of what I'm all about is allowing people to sort of visually touch things that they can't imagine.
Wayne Barlowe's weird alien images have been an important part of the sci-fi literary landscape since his first book was published when he was only 20 years old. The success of Barlowe's Guide to Extraterrestrials in 1979 led to a career as a sought-after cover artist.
It did establish me in the minds of the publishing world as somebody who could put a project together and see it through to its end, even at an early age, and also as somebody who was pretty well versed in natural history art enough to bring that into science fiction and make it convincing, make aliens convincing.
The son of noted natural history artists Cy and Dorothea Barlowe, Wayne calls himself a fanatically crisp painter who pays close attention to detail. His distinctive creature illustrations have prompted some to label him an extraterrestrial Michelangelo.
I had an advantage that a lot of people don't have breaking into art. Both of my parents were illustrators, and they came from a sensibility that was grounded in natural history, and that kind of infused its way into my being. And as a science fiction fan, it seemed like a very natural segue to bring that natural history sensibility into science fiction, particularly with aliens, and also a way of not competing with my parents.
Smart move. But ogling Barlowe's alien art has made many wonder how and why his mind conjures up such outrageous images.
Well, what drugs did you take to do that painting? Or, wow, your dreams must be really crazy. And no, it's a really average, normal life. I have 2 children, a wife, a house, everything is neat, and no, I'm not a tortured soul.
Barlowe's work has appeared on the covers of hundreds of books and magazines. And while he enjoys visualizing other people's ideas, he's been focusing on projects of a more personal nature lately.
At the moment, I'm finding science fiction itself kind of unfulfilling. I spent a long time reading it as a kid, and I gravitated more towards the very visual science fiction, which seems not to be as prevalent now as it was. There's more of a stress on sort of the inner science fiction quests, the psychological aspects of science fiction.
Eager to expand his artistic horizons, Barlowe released Expedition in 1990, in which readers were taken on a Darwinian visual journey to an imaginary planet. His latest release is called The Alien Life of Wayne Barlowe. Barlowe is close to completing a sequel to Guide to Extraterrestrials called Barlowe's Guide to Fantasy. And while he says he hasn't created the ideal alien yet, just give him time.
I still have a definite desire to create the gee whiz response in people. I know what I like. I try to push the boundaries as far as I can to make me happy. And hopefully, if I make me happy, there are other people brought along for the ride.
We are back at the Anime Expo, and I've got some new friends, big fans of anime. You do the introductions, okay?
Okay. I'm dressed as Pretty Sammy from the Tenchi Muyo video series.
Very nice. You make that yourself?
I did. And I also made...
She also made mine. My name is Stephanie. I'm also dressed from Tenchi Muyo. My name is Mihoshi.
And is that thing loaded?
Well, it can be.
Okay, what's your name?
John Brownhart.
From?
Netherlands.
The Netherlands. Came all the way from the Netherlands just for this, right?
Yeah.
And what are you dressed as?
Well, I guess it's me.
He's just a fan. How much money have you spent here?
About $700-800.
Yeah, get some good stuff?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then right back to the Netherlands, just here for the convention. That's pretty cool. What's your favorite genre in anime?
Oh, definitely some fun stuff.
Comedy.
Comedy. Make me laugh.
And mine is romance.
Oh.
Thank you all. A lot more to show you. Don't go away. Coming up, an imaginative fantasy TV series from Canada invades U.S. airwaves. Do not disconnect. With 1996 dubbed the International Year of the Roller Coaster, this summer's big screen thrill films are finding ever-increasing competition from a new generation of scream-inducing high-tech coasters. Sounding like hot sci-fi titles themselves, the new rides are all boasting superlatives. Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio just opened Mantis, the tallest, fastest, steepest stand-up roller coaster in the world. Florida's Busch Gardens Tampa Bay recently unveiled Montu, the world's largest inverted coaster. It features the first ever Batwing maneuver, consisting of two 45-degree angled vertical loops. The Outer Limits ride at Paramount's King's Dominion in Virginia catapults riders out of the loading station at 54 miles an hour into an area of total darkness. And Six Flags Magic Mountain in California is about to open Superman the Escape, which will hit 100 miles an hour, making it the fastest ride ever. Also new this summer, the Joker's Revenge at Six Flags Fiesta in Texas, the Mind Eraser at Geauga Lake in Aurora, Ohio, the Wooden Wildcat at Hershey Park, Pennsylvania, and Wild Izzy at Busch Gardens Williamsburg in Virginia. With over $300 million spent on new track this year alone, thrill seekers are in for the rides of their lives. And that's the latest buzz.
I got him!
The Odyssey is an imaginative fantasy series that was originally produced for Canadian television. The story unfolds as a young boy named Jay falls from a treehouse while fleeing local bullies out to steal his antique telescope. Slipping into a coma, his subconscious enters a bizarre realm called Downworld, where no one is older than 15.
My best book fell out. Space Cat Goes to Venus. I have to find it. Who are these people?
Each episode of the award-winning series shifts between Downworld and Upworld, where Jay's doctors, friends, and his widowed mother anxiously await his recovery. In Downworld, the boy is surrounded by images of his father, who died 5 years earlier in a boating accident.
I'm late. I've got to get home.
Jay decides the only way to get back home is by finding his father. So with two friends in tow, he sets off on a long and treacherous journey through Downworld. The Odyssey has been called a psychological adventure that borders on science fiction. Given its unique sensitive exploration of the subconscious mind, the show has struck a chord with viewers of all ages. When the first season cliffhanger originally aired, it created a stir in Canada akin to the furor sparked by the Who Shot JR episode of Dallas. Viewers bombarded the CBC network with an unprecedented number of phone calls.
I saw my mom.
Who?
And I know where to find my dad.
Huh?
In the tower.
Let's go.
Now, U.S. audiences can check out the Odyssey for the first time. The Sci-Fi channel airs this entertaining fantasy series at 6:30 p.m. every Saturday.
We'll find it.
We are back at the Anime Expo, this time with one of the dealers, Ed Noonchester is here from Southern California. Now, you go over to Japan how many times a year?
Oh, once a year at least.
Yeah, and buy some beautiful work. For instance, check this out. That's a cell from a cartoon, right?
Yes, it is. From the Space Cruiser Yamato, which is original series in Japan about 18 years ago. And this was a later series called Captain Harlock.
$350, huh?
You got it.
Now, what is the going range for cells like this?
Again, for a more popular series like this, it could be $100 to $350, $500 even.
But I saw something back here for $1,000, folks. I mean, you can make some money at this.
You can if you're very, very lucky.
What's the cheapest thing you have?
$10.
Oh, let's talk. More from the convention when we come back. Don't go away. $10, really? What about for this? I mean, could I get that for $10?
Not even in Japan.
Okay, I've got to be a little quiet here because in the middle of a screening. Oh, sorry about the light, folks.
It's okay.
What's the name of this film?
El Hazard.
Oh, El Hazard, okay.
Yeah.
I just got to tell you that it's time for Sci-Fi Buzz, this edition to close. See you again next week, though. Why do you like this so much?
It's one of the better ones, and it proves the world that anime is not just pornography and violence. This shows,
exactly.
Yeah, it's for kids. You know, it's a story for kids, yet it's for adults. It's great enough for adults. It's fantasy.
Yeah,
you know?
but she is sexy.
Yeah.
See you next week, everybody.
Bye.
Sorry. Hey, hit the light. Hit the light.
From somewhere underground, a secret network is transmitting a powerful signal directly to your brain. If you dare to tune in, you might just drop out forever. James Woods and Deborah Harry star in Videodrome tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, Sci-Fi Saturday. Now stay tuned for Inside Space next on the Sci-Fi Channel.